Shabbat Shalom. Now, we all know that we're not supposed to make business deals and such on Shabbat, but I have got such a deal for you that I just can't wait. Oh, it's better than true. You see, the problem is that for most of us, when we're looking to make an investment, we're looking to get a little return on what we put in, we think too small. And we don't realize the capacity. We don't think down to the roots of where everything comes from and get in on the ground floor. Which is why I've got a deal for you. Because I have a part of the ultimate source of all wealth in this entire world that you can own for just a small amount. I'm selling you part of the sun. You know, the big fiery thing up in the sky that provides all the energy and by extension all of the life and all of the wealth on earth. You can own a portion of the sun and get a magnificent return on your investment. And think of that. Think of the power of the sun, the billion-year lifespan that it's got. It's not going to burn out anytime soon. Your investment is going to continue to return again and again and again and again. Any buyers? Any takers? What's the catch? No catch. It's just that there happens to be a woman who has claimed ownership of the sun. And she is selling portions of the sun now. I'm not making this up. This is true. There is a woman who has filed for ownership of the sun, and she's doing so in order that she can sell the sun. Now, I see some of you chuckling. You don't realize that a few years ago, another gentleman did the same for the other planets and made a few $1 million selling the rights to the other planets. Now, those of you who were either alive during the 60s or are just interested in the space program, given that it is a neighbor of ours here in Orlando, may be wondering, but wait a minute. I thought when we landed on the moon, America was bound by international treaty not to claim ownership of the moon. Everyone remember this? If you don't remember it, you do know it now. Right? America, when it landed on the moon, even though it put that little flag in it, never said the moon is ours. They simply said we were here. Because by international treaty, states are not allowed to claim ownership of celestial bodies. The argument goes from the man who's selling planets and the woman selling the sun that states are bound by the international treaty. Individuals, they can claim whatever they want and they can sell it to any sucker, any investor who comes along. It's ridiculous to think that you could own a planet, right? Yes? Really? What do you think you own when you go into your house? A part of your planet? Right? Do you think if you own real estate that you own part of the planet? If you own the clothes on your back, do you not own the proceeds, the product of this planet? Do you not wake up and go to sleep every day not questioning the assumption that you are an owner, maybe small, maybe large, of some portion of this heavenly body? But you're not laughing about that. You probably have all sorts of paperwork to prove that you are the owner of big chunks or small chunks or things that have been dug out of or cut down from this planet. And you probably hold those pieces of paper very dear. Either the deed to your house, the ownership of your car, or the money that you have that represents what you have earned from your ownership or production of this planet. So why are you laughing at people that want to buy a little bit of Mercury or a little bit of Mars? Seems natural, you do it every single day. But in fact, it's that mindset, that blind spot, to realize that what is laughable when talking about Saturn is equally laughable when talking about Earth, that leads us into some very, very sloppy thinking. When we talk about Judaism and what it costs to be Jewish, and by cost I mean time and effort and cash, the number seems a little high to us at times. Right? It's not exactly free to be Jewish. There are expectations of synagogue participation. There are expectations of certain ritual objects to be in your house. There are expectations of certain donations and tzedakah that you will be given. There is an expectation of kashrut, which, as we know, costs a little more, especially if you're not vegetarian, than not keeping kosher. And there's an expectation that you will give up 1/7 of your productive life, what we call Shabbat, because you're Jewish. Those are some pretty high price tags to be Jewish. Pretty high things being taken out of what you own, right? What you have earned from this planet, you have to then deduct the price of being Jewish, and that deduction seems awfully big if you think you own the planet. On the other hand, if you look at it the proper way, if you realize that you don't own this planet, but you are simply being allowed to live here and being allowed to enjoy its benefits without ownership, but just privilege, it becomes quite a different equation. Just compare it in your own mind for a second as though you had a billionaire best friend. We all want one of those. And your billionaire best friend says, you know what? I'm going to give you this lovely mansion right here on the coast, and it is the most amazing house ever. It's got a lot of land, and there's a fully stocked wardrobe, and there's a fully stocked pantry, and don't worry, trucks will come by and deliver every week whatever you want, and I'm not going to ask you for very much. I'm just going to ask that when I come by, you make time for me. I'm just going to ask that you don't smoke in the house or similar requirements. Fair deal? Or do we feel that's a high price to pay? No, because we recognize when we've been given it all, having a few limits is in fact a perfectly reasonable bargain. And so too when it comes to this world. We have been given everything. We have no right to it. It was given to us freely. Not because we earned it, not because we deserve it, but because that was how God created the universe. And having given everything freely, is it so unreasonable that God puts a few limits on what has been given? Not deductions being taken away from what I made, but a few limits being asked for by the one who gave it to us all. So, if I have to spend one day a week thinking a little bit more about God than I would on the other days of the week, not that there should be a huge difference, but you get my point. That's not a huge loss to me. It's just a very, very small ask in return for what has already been given. If I can't eat every single thing on the menu, am I really left with nothing left to eat? Or do I recognize that everything I can eat is still a gift that I had no right to expect in the first place, and so anything left is still a blessing? When I'm asked to give tzedakah, to help support those who are in desperate need, is it draining my resources, or am I simply being asked to share what was given to me with someone else, and should feel thankful that I can be the instrument of blessing, rather than the blessing coming from a different avenue? When we laugh as easily at our thought and our assumption of our ownership of this world as we do of owning the sun, our perspective changes overnight. And suddenly we can see that Torah is not a huge list of demands. It is a very, very tiny request in exchange for the blessings we have already received. Shabbat Shalom.